warrior to another great warrior. There must have been a deeper meaning in the will of supreme power to have chosen the warriors and battlefield as the medium to convey the ultimate knowledge to the mankind. When I read the subject of today's talk, Decoding the Destroyer, Learning from the Conqueror of Death, the words sounded very familiar. Destroyer in Indian Navy is the most agile warship during the war. And as we join the Indian Navy and the destroyer, we join to conquer the enemy. But today we are going to hear about Conqueror of Death. So is death the enemy? No, I don't think so. The death in the duty of Navy is called supreme sacrifice. While out of Navy, I consider death as a gateway to Nirvana. At least for a mortal like me, who may have to go through many life cycles to attain Nirvana, the death brings me closer to the ultimate goal. During my student days, we had to write many subject papers to finish exam, say metric exam. At the end of each subject paper, I used to be thrilled, and completing the last paper in the date sheet used to be the most thrilling experience because we were looking for a Nirvana from the studies, at least for a few weeks. Therefore, if one can conquer the fear of death by considering it a gateway to Nirvana, it will become a matter of bliss. So let's hear the narration from Commander Guru Prasad on this subject that affects the human psychology so profoundly. Commander Guru Prasad has been a very keen student of Vedas and spirituality. His experience of life experience of life consists of 22 years of distinguished service in the Indian Navy. He is an electrical engineer who later post-graduated in strategy and management and applied it in abundance to his work, including doing project management for an e-commerce startup. So he has been a karma yogi who has seen it all in the material world. And now he's applying his mind to fathom the ultimate pool of knowledge. So let's hear from Commander Guru Prasad. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, sir. It's indeed such a pleasure to be introduced by you, and thanks for the kind and generous words that you have spoken about me and my experience. Well, whatever I have learned from Swamiji, and I offer my pranams to Swamiji. So let me, without further ado, go ahead with the presentation that I have prepared. It shall be my pleasure to be amongst Sadhujan, as they say. That is the first pleasure. The second pleasure is to share whatever I have learned, whatever little that I know, whatever little my mind can imagine with other like-minded sadhaks. So it will be in that spirit of learning that I shall be sharing my presentation today. Yeah, everybody is able to see the screen, no?
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you, Swamiji. I just wanted to also mention that I am using very melodious musical tracks as part of my slides. So if you have earphones or speakers, you can connect them. Also turn your volume high so that you can enjoy these tracks. Right. Now, I was wondering that 11th of March is Shivratri, and as a preparatory exercise, I wanted to share some insights about Lord Shiva and his glory. I hope people find this a meditative experience as also an inspirational talk to delve deeper into the mysteries of Lord Shiva and his glory. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmat Acharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. There is a long list of gurus who have prepared their students and who have made the students understand the deeper significance of Vedantic teachings. Hence, this river of knowledge has started in the locks of Shiva and has flowed continuously till every knowledgeable seeker. So I offer my humble pranams and offer this presentation as a worship of Lord Shiva with all of us. Let me start with this verse from Shiva Mahimna Stotra, written by a Gandharva, a celestial being called Pushpadanta, who was a devotee of Lord Shiva. And I remember attending Swami Chidanandaji's talk on Shiva Mahimna Stotra somewhere in 1995 in Bangalore, Indiranagar Ashram. And it inspired me so much at that time, I remember. Mahimna param te parama vidusho yadya sadrishi stutir brahmadinam api tadavasannas tvaigiraha athavaಚ್ಯ sarva swamati parinama vadigranan mamapyesha stotre hara nirapavada parikaraha. When the words of praise from great people like Lord Brahma, they are incapable of measuring Shiva's glory, what to talk of limited people of limited intellect like myself. That's what Pushpadanta says. And that is very much the spirit with which I start. My mind is limited. My intellect is even more so. What can I think of Lord Shiva's glory? But it is as a matter of my own learning that I attempt to speak a few words with you all. Let me start by sharing a personal experience. After hearing Swami Chidanandaji's discourse on Shiva Mahimna Stotra, I had an occasion to visit Sidhbari in 1996, September 1996. And I remember attending Swami Subodhanandaji's discourse, another great Shiva Bhakta. He recently attained Mahasamadhi. And one of the things that I still remember him saying about Lord Shiva, he said, if you want to be a devotee of Shiva, you should do things that Shiva did. So this he mentioned when he was going for a walk with us at night, 11 o'clock, staring at the stars in Sidhbari. From Sidhbari ashram, we walked till Sidhbari village. He used to do that after every dinner. And some of us youngsters used to join him. And he said, see, and it was rather a moonless night. And he said, Shiva likes staying in the outdoors, out in the open, staring at the stars and see how beautiful it is. And it was indeed an experience that I still remember as if it happened yesterday. And then also, I had read Wandering in the Himalayas by Swami Tapovanamji, and that also had inspired me quite a bit. Now, the personal experience that I am going to share happened immediately after this camp. After the camp, I decided to trek up from McLeodganj to a place called Triund in the Dauladar Mountains, where there is a bungalow by the forest department. So my idea was to stay there for one night and come back, enjoy the beautiful vistas of Himalayas and come back. However, I met a shepherd there. He said, let us cross this Indradhar Pass. There is a pass called Indradhar Pass, which is about almost 4,000 meters high. And he said, मैं आपको उस तरफ लेके जाऊंगा. I will take you on the other side. You come with me. So I decided, okay, this is my best chance to do my own wandering in the Himalayas. So I joined him. But unfortunately, my luggage was quite heavy. I had carried a backpack full of some, for 1 week, 10 days stay. And I couldn't quite keep up with him. He, being a Pahadi, was very fast. So somehow I was able to go up with him, but I had hurt my knee quite badly. Of course, my fitness levels were quite high those days. So I could catch up with him. But what he promised was a 16-hour trek stretched to almost 2 days because of my injury. And this was the evening. We had just crossed the pass and we were going down on the other side. And I had a fall. I had a small fall, but it hurt me so badly that I was limping. And it became dark. So we were almost at about 3,700 meters high in the mountains, very cold, and it was totally dark. And we couldn't go further. Of course, we had some small torch, but it was not going to last us for a 4 to 6 hour climb down. So this Pahadi who was with me, he said, हम तो फंस गए साहब, अभी तो बहुत मुश्किल है, जान बचाने के लिए बहुत problem होगा. Because he was envisaging that we will reach down into the village by the nightfall. I still remember that I closed my eyes and with deep faith, I prayed to Lord Shiva. And then we started limping, we started going. And he said, बहुत ठंड है साहब, एक आधा घंटा मैक्सिमम 1 घंटे में हम लोग फ्रीज हो जाएंगे, उसके पहले कुछ ना कुछ होना है. So I was not used to, this kind of rather emergency management. So I was just praying and I was going down. And this Pahadi whistled and shouted, and I also shouted. Within 5 minutes, somebody shouted back from the valley below. And we were greatly thrilled to hear this. Then we immediately lit a fire with whatever we had and started waving. Soon, somebody from the other side also lit a fire and they started shouting. And what looked like a very distant light turned out to be a lighted fire from a cave on the mountainside. It was some more shepherds who had climbed up the mountain with their sheep and they were taking rest for the night in that cave. And luckily, they could hear us and they immediately came to us with light and escorted us back into the cave. That night, we slept in the cave along with the shepherds, and it was an experience I shall cherish for the rest of my life. And Lord Shiva indeed saved me that day. And of course, all of you will be also having such experiences to share, I am sure. But this is something with which I thought I shall start my presentation with. Yes, this was a beautiful Kannada bhajan by Bharat Ratna, late Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, and he indeed sang in ecstasy, singing about the glory of Lord Shiva who lived in Kailas. Now, Lord Shiva chose Kailas, and that's a spot of amazing beauty, rather beauty which is not seen on this earth. And here is my first insight about Lord Shiva. Wherever we live has to be a place of beauty. We need to create that beauty, and also we need to connect with the natural surroundings, the nature, which it can invoke that wisdom and invoke that bliss in us. So the first lesson that we can all learn from Lord Shiva is to stay connected with nature. Lord Shiva stayed in Kailas, continues to stay in Kailas for everlasting time. The point is that he chose to stay in Kailas to be continuously immersed in the natural state of things, in the natural bliss. So can we do that in our own little way? Maybe it is not possible for all of us who stay in the cities, but we can definitely make a trip to the mountains. Himalayas are not far away today. Every place is connected. Can we at least spend a week? Can we at least make a trip to a place of natural beauty once in few months, just to awaken that intelligence in us? This is the first learning I wanted to connect.
जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर करुणाकर करतार हरे जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर करुणाकर करतार हरे जय अविनाशी सुख राशि सुख सार हरे जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर
Hari Om, sorry for the interruption. There was a power supply failure. Luckily, we were able to get back. And no discussion on Lord Shiva is complete without a mention of the ancient city of Varanasi, where the great temple of Kashi Vishwanath exists. And it is at a spot where the river Varuna and Asi, they take a U-turn, a turn towards its own source. So Lord Shiva represents this turning inwards, turning towards our own source. And we need to understand the significance of turning inwards. From an external focused mind, we have to turn inwards, and Varanasi represents this. So let us absorb this insight and then go ahead. The singers were Padma Vibhushan Pandit Rajan Sajan Mishra, who represent the Banaras Gharana of Hindustani classical music. Now going ahead, we are in for another musical treat, a small clip though. Let us all close our eyes and meditate on the sacred sound.
महाकाल महादेव जटी शूले पंचवदन प्रसन्न नेत्र महाकाल महादेव जटी शूले पंचवदन प्रसन्न नेत्र महाकाल.
Yes, Lord Shiva is also known as Mahakaleshwar, the Lord of Time, and his temple is located at Ujjain, another ancient city in the middle India. Now, what exactly is meant when we say that Shiva is the Lord of Time, who overcame time, who mastered time? Let us try and understand this piece. Now, any idea that we have about our own incompleteness starts with a desire or a sorrow. We feel incomplete because we don't have that new fancy car which has come to the market. So a desire is born. And once a desire is born, we start working to realize that desire. We start taking action. And towards that action, once we take that action, we start measuring time. An idea is born. From the idea, this action is initiated. The time starts. The axis of time starts. And then tomorrow, when probably we get that money for which we put in efforts, and then we buy that car, and then we think we are going to be happy. So the whole cycle is here, the cycle of time, as they say. From the idea or a desire, which is a thought, the desire is also a thought in our mind. The sorrow, if we have a sorrow, that is also an idea in our mind. It's a thought. So from a thought, this time as a thought is born, and we start keeping time in our own mind. Okay, 1 week has passed, 2 months have passed, and this time we start measuring. This is psychological time. And this is how the time takes all of us in its grip. The thought of idea or a desire or a sorrow starts the time, and then our mind, which is born of the memory, gives it continuity. So the ego in all of us tries to sustain itself by giving this idea, this thought, continuity. So memory and thought together create time. And here is the great master, Jiddu Krishnamurti, who defined time, psychological time, as the interval between idea and action. So when we say Lord Shiva overcame time, what did we mean? Lord Shiva basically attained a level of quietness in his mind that there were no thoughts. So there was neither an idea of desire nor an idea of a sorrow. So there was no starting point for the time, for the axis of time. And here we see in this statement by the Lord of Arunachala, Ramana Maharshi, he said, "Be quiet, that is truth. Be still, that is God." This is what we exactly meant. And this is what we exactly saw in Lord Shiva. So can we learn to allow thoughts to subside so that we gain clarity and go beyond time, just like Shiva did? This is another learning that we can all absorb from Lord Shiva. Going beyond time by the cessation of thought. When I say cessation of thought, it is a natural cessation of thought. It is not a forced or compressed kind of restraining of thought. Over a period of time, our sadhana has to deepen so that we see this movement of thought in our own minds with the flame of awareness. And then slowly, we may attain this lofty state where thoughts come to a standstill, the time stops, and we are absorbed with Lord Shiva.
हर हर देव हर हर देव हर हर देव हर हर जगवंदन गणेश जय जगवंदन गणेश तुम हो जगवंदन देव हर हर देव.
Another famous glory of Lord Shiva is that he gained mastery over his passion, and the famous story of Manmatha hitting Lord Shiva with the arrow made of flowers is well known to all of us. Pushpadanta puts it so beautifully in his Shiva Mahimna Stotra. Asiddhartha naiva kvachidapi sadeva suranare nivartante nityam jagati jaino yasya vishikaha. Sapashyan ishatvam itara surasadharanam abhut smarasmartavyatma nahi vashishu patya paribhava. Manmatha made the grave mistake of considering Lord Shiva as just another god and used his arrows, and he paid the price by getting reduced to ashes, and just a lord or just a Gandharva without body. Manmatha is known as Ananga because he doesn't have a physical body that has been burnt by Lord Shiva. What exactly happens? Suppose we have eaten a sweet, a Mysore pak, let us say, and we have enjoyed that experience tremendously. Now that experience, that enjoyable experience is stored in our memory. Now this stored experience gets triggered whenever we pass that sweet shop next time, and we start thinking, yes, that experience was good, so I want to have that Mysore Pak again. This thinking about the pleasure from our own individual perspective, our own jiva bhava, our own ego-centric personality is lust. Now the thought is triggered from the memory of pleasure that is stored in our mind. Now when we say Shiva overcame this passion, what exactly do we mean? Shiva was and is the universal spirit himself. So there is no jiva bhava there, whereas we have all the jiva bhava. And then Shiva is present with 100% intensity in every moment. He is not a prisoner of the past. He is not worried about the future like us. So he is there 100%, and he is called Smarahara. That means he's erased all the memories. So can we do that? Can we erase our memories? Can we live fresh every moment? Can we be present 100% in every moment? Can we identify with that universal spirit of Shiva so that we, with our flame of awareness, we are able to see the movement of thought, especially thought that is triggering the lust, and burn it then and there. This is what we can absorb, we can learn from Lord Shiva.
जटाटवीगलज्जलप्रवाहपावितस्थले गले वलम्बलम्बितां भुजङ्गतुङ्गमालिकां डमड्डमड्डमड्डमन्निनादवड्डमर्वयं चकार चण्डताण्डवं तनोतु नः शिवं शिवं जटाकटाह सम्भ्रम भ्रमन्निलिम्पनिर्झरि विलोलवीचिवल्लरी विराजमानमूर्धनि धगद्धगद्धगज्ज्वलल्ललाटपट्टपावके किशोरचन्द्रशेखरे रतिप्रतिक्षणं मम.
Yes, Lord Shiva is also known as Nataraja, the divine dancer, performing his cosmic dance of creation and destruction, as he is worshipped in the famous temple at Chidambaram. Chidambaram, as we all know, is a temple that celebrates the element of space, Chidakash. And Lord Shiva is worshipped as Nataraj. He is stepping on Apasmara, who signifies ignorance. So Lord Shiva has attained that supreme knowledge, and he is dancing in bliss. He is holding Damaru, a musical instrument that stands for the rhythm of creation and destruction. And the song that you heard, the stotra that you heard, Shruti Sadolikar singing, was Tandava Stotra, Shiva Tandava Stotra, written by the great king of Lanka, Ravana himself.
चंद्रचूड शिव शंकर पार्वती रमण निनगे नमो नमो. चंद्रचूड शिव शंकर पार्वती रमण निनगे नमो नमो. सुंदरतर पिनाक धर रे सुंदर तर पिनाग दरकर सुंदर तर पिनाग दरकर गंगाधर गज चर्मांबर तर गंगाधर गज चर्मांबर तर गंगाधर गज चर्मांबर चंद्रचूड शिवशंकर पार्वती रमणा निनगे नमो नमो दरगे दक्षिण कावेरी दरगे दक्षिण कावेरी कुंभपुरवास ಕರದಲ್ಲಿ ವೀಣೆಯ ಗಾನವ ಮಾಡುವ ಮುರಗಭೂಷಣ ನೀನೆ ಕೊರಳಲಿ ಬಸಿಮ ರುದ್ರಾಕ್ಷವು ಧರಿಸಿದ ಪರಮ ವೈಷ್ಣವನು ನೀನೆ ಗರುಡ ಗಮನ ನಮ್ಮ ಪುರದರ ವಿಠಲ ಗರುಡ ಗಮನ ನಮ್ಮ ಪುರದರ ವಿಠಲ ಪ್ರಾಣ ಬೇಯನು ನೀನೆ ಗರುಡ ಗಮನ ನಮ್ಮ ಪುರದರ ವಿಠಲ ಪ್ರಾಣ ಬೇಯನು ನೀನೆ ಚಂದ್ರಚೂಡ ಶಿವಶಂಕರ ಪಾರ್ವತಿ ರಮಣ ನಿನಗೆ ನಮೋ 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 ನಮೋ
Yes, I want to highlight that this bhajan or this song was written by the great Purandara Dasa, and he is talking about Lord Shiva, the Nataraja, and he calls him Parama Vaishnava. He says Lord Shiva is himself a great fan of Vishnu, Parama Vaishnava. And in the last line he says that for the Lord of Vaikunta, that is Lord Vishnu, the greatest friend is Lord Shiva. See the beautiful conceptualization of divinity by Purandara Dasa, who had a clear idea of the unity of the Godhood. And today, when we hear people fighting amongst themselves, following this religion and that God, we need to understand where we are coming from, what is our heritage, and consider one Lord as the master of this universe. Now, this form of cosmic dance, this was also commented upon by modern scientists and modern people from the West. One amongst them was Fritjof Capra. He mentioned specifically the dance of subatomic particles as something akin to the divine cosmic dance, and he specifically commented about Hindus worshipping Lord Nataraja. He said they knew millions of years ago that this is what it is. This is the cosmic dance that we see in the universe. Now, the learning that we can all absorb in this is, can we incorporate fine arts in our own lifestyles, the music, the dance, the yoga, all these extracurricular activities? They infuse a sense of timing, the rhythm, a sense of melody, the beauty of music, and a sense of fun, lightheartedness, considering this whole life as a divine play, not get very serious and get worried. So these are all things that we can absorb from Lord Shiva as Nataraj. And finally, we come to the final insight. Shiva as Dakshinamurti, teaching the highest wisdom through silence. Yes, Lord Shiva as Dakshinamurti taught the highest wisdom through silence, as did the sage of Arunachala. In the end, words do not carry meaning. The truth cannot be captured in words. It is through intuitive experience the yogi feels within himself when he starts looking within in the flame of awareness. And that is what we need to absorb. Can we kindle silence within to really invoke our inherent wisdom and bliss? This is the final challenge, final insight Lord Shiva throws at us. With this, I have come to the end of my presentation. Just to recapture, can we learn to stay connected to nature? Can we learn to allow thoughts to subside, gain clarity? Can we incorporate fine arts like dance, music, yoga in our own lifestyles to infuse a sense of rhythm, melody, and fun in our lives, which seems to have been lost? Can we identify with the universal spirit and start living every moment, moment to moment, fresh, without the burden of the past, and eliminate unnecessary thinking which emanates from the conditioned memory? Can we keep silence within to invoke our inherent wisdom? With this, I have come to the end of my presentation, and I would again like to end with this verse from Shiva Mahimna Stotra. Tava tattvam na janami kidrishosi maheshwara yadrishosi mahadeva tadrishaya namo namaha. I do not know the truth of your being and how you are, O great God. Salutations to you. And whatever form you are, whatever principle you represent, I prostrate in front of that divinity. Swamiji, I have finished, and thanks for giving me this wonderful opportunity to present this bouquet of thoughts with fellow sadhaks, and I hope you all have enjoyed my little effort. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Guru Prasad ji. Can you just stop sharing the screen, Guru Prasad ji?
Yes, just a minute.
We are very happy, Guru Prasad ji. Today you have brought out 7 pointers here, starting with your personal experiences and the points what you just said about connecting to the nature, to move to our source, the Lord Shiva as the Kaleshwara, that conqueror of the time, and then the divine dance. And in that also you said that how we have to be connected to the fun in the form of fine arts and music and yoga, etc. And finally, you took us to the sublime state of silence. Thank you very much. I would request Swamiji to say a few words to you.
As all of you can see, Dr. Acharya Nagaraju and I are here, and we thoroughly enjoyed every minute of this presentation. And it was a pleasant surprise for us to notice that Commander Guru Prasad adopted a new way to present the whole matter. All the narration and the text and the pictures were interspersed with really uplifting music. Even those of us who do not know much of classical music were able to enjoy the short pieces, and the singers were great celebrities. Pandit Jasraj, I guess, left us just a couple of months ago, probably. And also, it was so appropriate because Shivaratri is considered a festival. And this music being integrated with the presentation really brought a festive atmosphere in our minds. Because when we go and attend some festival, there will be music and dance going on all around. So this webinar already pushed us into the festive mood of Shivaratri. And thank you for that. All of us are very happy. And I may just add one sentence. Starting with this webinar with 14 plus 11, 25 days left for Shivaratri. Let us all take up some sadhana on a daily basis, some Om Namah Shivaya or any other of everybody's choice. Let us begin starting with the Guru Prasad's webinar, some little bit of sadhana, culminating on the night of March 11, Shivaratri. And thanks to the invitation of Swami Hamsananda, I will be actually giving 7 lectures, of course, in Kannada in March 1 to 7 at Mysuru. That will be another addition to this Shivaratri celebration this time. So wonderful. I'm sure everybody is with me in expressing sincere appreciation, hearty compliments to Commander Guru Prasad. I have a suspicion that he spoke so well because another commander introduced him. That could also be a little secret between them. They two know each other, what it is.
I couldn't let him down, Swamiji.
Okay then. May Shiva bless you. Hari Om.
Thank you, sir. Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
So we end the meeting here. Hari Om.
Hari Om.